about sports or life. We're here to give you advice. This is from Prashant. Ed Donatel has a great opportunity to mix up his defense a bit more against the Bears. They are a run-heavy team, and Justin Fields is 5 of 49 in completions against pressure this season. 5 of 49 in completions when pressured, according to PFF. I'm going to trust that. That is incredible. I would like to see them go single high a bit more, stack the box, bring more pressure against Fields, and have an extra body to stop the run. The shell defense works against guys like Mahomes and Allen, who are forced to settle for the short game, but a guy like Fields, who is indecisive, holds the ball for far too long. One of the longest snap-to-throw rates in the NFL. Snap-to-throw rates in the NFL.
Also good.
I love this.
Horrid under pressure. So I guess, to what extent are the Vikings going to terrorize Justin Fields this weekend?
I love these ideas. Fantastic, right? I guess my one question is this, and I do think that note is spot on. What is Fields can take off, right? As a default position, he will take off. But yeah, I love the pressure thing, and I think that's correct. Like I think they need to make changes there. They definitely need to adjust, and if nothing else, find a way to at least create pressures, as we talked about before. So yes, I'm all in on that.
Staying on the defensive side here, John Steen says, with Lewis Seen going down, the Vikings need a contingency option for safety. Metellus has been a nice surprise, but I don't see that continuing. Bynum has been okay, and Harrison Smith will continue to be hitman, but he's getting older. It feels like he's lost a step. What do you think of Patrick Peterson taking snaps at safety? Peterson has gotten beat a few times. He's starting to look old, and I worry that as the season goes on, he'll be more of a liability at cornerback. There have been times in the NFL where cornerbacks get older. I mean, Charles Woodson's a great example.
Yep.
They can stretch their careers by moving to safety.
Maybe in the future. I don't see it now. And Peterson, who, by the way, has not been bad. Like, he has not been... of all of the old guys, he's actually, I think, been probably defensively one of their best. I don't mind this thought for the future. The other thing, though, that's intriguing is, at least from the PFF grades against the Saints, Bynum and Harrison Smith were both very low defensively. That was I'm intrigued about that one. Like, Bynum, I'm not shocked by. Harrison Smith, to me, has come nowhere near, so far in the first, 4 weeks, he's come nowhere close to looking like Harrison Smith.
Yeah, and part of the problem, the Vikings they purged so many players from their 2021 draft class, and the 2020 draft class has a lot of just sort of zeros. So it's not like they have this young stable of defensive backs ready to just, especially with Lewis Seen being out now, and who knows if he's ever going to be. I mean, that's a ridiculously serious injury. Your leg snapped in half. So I don't know. And he was already kind of behind the curve a little bit, and now his leg snapped in half, and it's just a bad situation all around. Nicholas, via the SKOR North app, says, today you mentioned about the Vikings not opening up the passing game to mid and deeper range passes. Do you think, so the Vikings have one of the lowest average depth of target numbers, meaning like how far does the ball travel in the air in the NFL? Do you think it's because they are protecting the offensive line? Everyone's been saying how much better the O-line's been playing. Is the O-line playing better because they're not running deeper routes, having Kirk get rid of the ball quicker so they don't have to pass block longer? Is that having an effect on Cook because the defenses are not respecting the deep ball? What are your thoughts? I'm going to look up average time to throw here real quick.
I sort of like it. I did see a stat from PFF in the past couple of days that Kirk is actually, I think he's tops in the league as far as when quarterbacks throw beyond the chains.
Yes.
So he's had some success there. But yeah, you know what? That's not a bad thought. That's not a bad thought because they're definitely, especially with Bradbury in pass protection, they definitely had a plan of some sort to try and cover up for his struggles in his first, 3 years. So that's a very good point. That's a very possible point.
In terms of average time to throw, this is such a deceiving number. Brady's the quickest, but that's Brady. Brady just Brady protects his offensive line so well for a non-mobile quarterback.
Peyton did the same thing, right?
Just get that thing out. You can't sit back there all day.
Yep.
Cousins has the 18th longest time to throw. It's like a half second longer to get rid of the ball than Tom Brady so far this season. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of mid-pack. But again, some of that is scheme. Some of it is quarterback driven. It's so hard to use that number without context. But I actually think that there's still some feeling out between Cousins and Kevin O'Connell in terms of what's a green light throw, what is not. I think however it's going to happen, they would like to get the ball down the field more than they are. And it's hard to know for sure without being in the room with those guys as they watch film. Is it a schematic thing? Is it Cousins isn't taking shots where they're available? Are receivers not doing a good enough job getting open, which I find a hard time believing with the receivers they have. That it's not like the Bears receivers where they're just not going to be open ever.
Right.
So, yeah, we'll just have to let it play out. Seth Herman via the SKOR North app says, I don't think the importance of the F it gene is discussed enough when it comes to the quarterback of this offense. The big difference between Kirk and Stafford is that Stafford has the F it gene and Kirk does not. Kirk by nature is simply more conservative. I think that's what KOC is trying to ignite in Kirk's game, and I think that's why statistically Kirk has had a down year so far, because he's being asked to make throws he wouldn't normally make and throws where he has to think, F it. I have the arm talent, and my receivers are talented enough to make this play. Do you think Kirk's lack of an F it gene is holding him back so far this year?
Well, absolutely. We've talked about this. My explanation was Stafford has no conscience. So he throws a pick, Guess what? Next series up. Let's go.
Yeah.
Kirk thinks about it. Like, just watch Kirk and don't dissect the stats, because that's not going to help. Watch Kirk right after a pick, though, and watch his approach. It takes him some time to loosen back up. So yes, there is no question. And that's what I keep saying is, and this is not an indictment, but this notion in the summertime and springtime that Kirk was going to be Stafford was ridiculous. Like, are there certain things? Absolutely. But this whole thing of, well, mentally, he's just going to cut it loose, and that's not ever going to be him. And Phil, I think you are 1,000% right. I think that there is a lot of given. Great point.
I know.
There's a lot of give and take, I think, still, because O'Connell's not going to tell Kirk, screw you. Here's what we're doing. He's going to try to get him to do what he wants, but his approach is not going to be to cut Kirk out. O'Connell has gone out of his way very wisely to involve Kirk. He talked about extensively after the game against the Saints, involving Jefferson. Like, Justin comes to him, it's like, I'm frustrated. I'd like the ball more. And instead of saying, we'll figure that out, he says, come in here, let's talk about that. And they figure out ways. So Kevin O'Connell is going to try to get Kirk to do things, but he's not going to push him to do things that he can't do.
One of the things I loved about O'Connell, last week against the Saints, just kind of a side street here, he literally drew up a quick hitting pass to Justin Jefferson to start the game. Just basically said, well, unacceptable that this guy hasn't gotten the ball, and we want him to feel like he is a huge part of this thing from the start of the game. And so whether this play gains 2 yards or 20 yards, we're going to get him the ball on the first play of the game. And I kind of like that. I think you got to be a little bit careful just kind of catering to one guy, and I don't think they're in danger of crossing that line by any means. It felt like his 10 catches were very much in the flow of what they were trying to do. But I love that they said, let's just get this dude the ball right away and just show, hey, we're gonna dictate how he gets the ball, not the defense.
And the fact that they talk too, which sounds stupid, but it's not. Like, there are
in game, they're talking in game
and outside.
Like, what a concept!
But I mean, there are coaches. There are coaches who on the sideline and in the office tell players, go away. I've got this. We're going to do this, and you will execute the plan. Yeah. It's 2022, man. With top players, that don't work.
Yep. 90% Mental on Twitter says, in Monday's press conference, when speaking of getting all 11 to be in sync and doing their job with no let-up, KOC uttered the words, we're only 4 games into this year's version of our team. I believe the wording, this year's version of our team, carries a lot of hidden meaning. So please allow me to recklessly speculate.
Love it.
Ooh.
Please do.
I'm going to sit back.
Reckless speculation.
Kwesi and KOC, with a push from ownership, took the safe play with Kirk and signed him to the 2-year extension. I believe this is accurate. Yes. They weren't like, I don't think they were kicking and screaming, especially KOC. He's like, I've worked with this dude. Yeah, he's accurate. Like, can do a lot worse than Kirk Cousins. Mm-hmm. They had a hunch they could elevate Kirk if they gave him a new scheme, the gift of a better line, and a coach who would work with him. They knew his track record, though, average quarterback who doesn't elevate the team and plays tight when lights are brightest. And they told the Wilfs, if it doesn't work, we'll need to move on. This year's version of the team is to give the overpaid average quarterback one more shot to see what he can do. No more excuses. Let me take this and pose a question. To what extent do you think Kwesi and KOC are tied to Kirk Cousins? Like if this thing goes sideways or something in the 2 years on his deal, let's say they miss the playoffs next year, is ownership going to say, well, that was your guy, and now you guys are going to take the fall for your guy failing?
No, hell no. They are tied to him in as much as I think they decided well, the note is right. The Wilfs pushed them there. But I think what they said was, we'll take our shot with Kirk. He signed with a complete no trade then in 2023. And so Kirk Cousins almost certainly is going to be this team's quarterback through next season. That being said, if you have faith that they can develop and find a quarterback so that you can't draft a Kellen Mond, which is a complete bust, I think that gives them the luxury of incorporating that quarterback next year. Not playing him, but incorporating him and starting to take your shots. So I think that there is a 100% a ripcord plan here with Kirk. And look, we are 4 games in. I mean, O'Connell is telling the truth. There's a lot of what he says that if you just investigate it a little bit, is just being upfront. Mm-hmm. O'Connell is telling you the truth and saying, I am working with a quarterback who I'm familiar with, who I know, who I think I can work with. But there are no Kevin O'Connell quotes since the season started that lead you to believe that he is just like, I am all in on Kirk for 5 years.
Speaking of Kirk, our guy, Joe Spinoza, #1 Kirk Cousins fan on Twitter.
Joey.
And Joe spends several hours a day just tweeting and defending Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, okay.
And he says, Phil, you either have a personal vendetta against Kirk, or you would not be satisfied with anyone not named Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, Josh Allen, or Tom Brady. I will add Justin Herbert. I will add Trevor Lawrence. I could add several other quarterbacks to that list. Matthew Stafford is better. It is not this is like, God, man, so many people have just become like oddly die on a hill attached to the 14th best quarterback in the world who's overpaid. It has nothing to do with a personal vendetta. My personal vendetta is I want the Vikings to win at a high level. Mm-hmm. That's the personal vendetta. If anything, the people that die on a hill for one player who's not even a transcendent great player, what are you dying on a hill for? What is he elevating? He's fine, but he's not a guy worth dying on a hill for, and he's underperformed, quite frankly, this season. Mm-hmm. So let's just separate it. That's all I have to say for now on that topic.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong if I heard that correctly. Is Joe saying you're not going to be satisfied until you get the Mahomes, the Allen, that group? Is that what he's saying?
Should I have to apologize for wanting a transcendent quarterback at some point?
We all want that, dude. We all want that.
You just be happy that you have the 13th or 14th best quarterback, who, by the way, listen, I would complain a lot less over the last few years if he wasn't one of the highest paid players in the NFL. There's no value there. In the NFL, it's a lot of success is just finding value on the roster and maximizing it. And the Vikings actually have some right now. They've got a franchise left tackle on a rookie scale contract, franchise receiver rookie scale contract. There's a couple interesting, pieces of value there. But I just yes, is it a controversial take to say that I would like at some point to either have a transcendent quarterback for the first time in my life watching this team, one that's homegrown, or if I'm going to have to settle for like the 14th best quarterback, maybe not paying the third most money to the cap in a league that caps what you can spend on players. It's not controversial. Glenn Veter, dumb question. Are teams allowed to alter their stadium setups through the game? Like, could the Vikings open the doors and bring wind in when opposing teams are on that side of the field kicking field goals and close them when they're on offense? I don't think you can.
You can't because if you have a retractable roof, which the Vikings obviously don't, if you have a retractable roof, I think you have to decide before kickoff, open or closed. And those doors are massive. So it's not like the old, hey, we're going to open a couple doors. So no, I think that it has to be decided before the game. And I think the rule is then that you're set. If the doors are open, they're open. If they're closed, they're closed. So
yeah,
the answer, as far as I know, is no. You can't alter your stadium during the game.
Just
baseball, you can.
There's a hurricane coming here as this field goal
I think,
goes through.
at least like at Miller Park, I think that roof takes like 45 minutes to close. Like it's not just hey, a thing can close pretty quickly. It takes like almost an hour to close that damn roof.
Yeah, that's because you get a bunch of idiots from Wisconsin trying to figure out.
And by the way, it's AmFam Field now, Declan. Come on.
Oh, sorry. My apologies. Terminal 3.
The name.
Yeah, my bad.
All right, that's a wrap on this Feedback Friday edition of Mackie and Judd here. Over on Purple Daily, Vikings Vent Line, right after Bears Vikings, the most fan-friendly interactive show in all of Minnesota sports, maybe even in the world, for all we know. You can find that exclusively on the Purple Daily YouTube channel. And speaking of those YouTube channels, the SKOR North and the Purple Daily YouTube channels, please click subscribe if you haven't already. If you're a Minnesota sports fan, we're almost to 50,000 combined subscribers. Thanks to all of you. We appreciate you helping us build this community, and we'll see you guys later.
All right.